My reckless father tried to use my mother's $60,000 life insurance after her death for vacations and friends. I sued him and got everything back plus compensation. I never thought I'd be posting something like this, but here we are. I'm 32M, and my world got turned upside down when my mom passed away from cancer 6 months ago. What followed was something I never could have imagined from my own father. My mom, Priya, was the strongest woman I knew. She worked as a nurse practitioner for 15 years and always made sure our family was taken care of. My dad, Rajesh, worked in IT but was never really good with money or responsibility. Mom was the one who handled all our finances, insurance, everything. She was also the one who held our family together. When she got diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer 2 years ago, she fought like hell. During her treatment, she made sure to get all her affairs in order. She updated her life insurance policy and made me the primary beneficiary of her $60,000 policy. She told me this money was meant to help me get established in life, maybe buy a house, start a family someday. She said she didn't trust Dad with that kind of money because he'd always been impulsive with spending. I should have listened to that warning more carefully. After Mom passed, I was devastated. Dad seemed to be grieving too, and we supported each other through the funeral arrangements. I was so focused on my grief that I didn't pay attention to what he was doing behind the scenes. The life insurance money came through about a month after the funeral, and I had it deposited into a separate account while I figured out what to do with it. That's when things started getting weird. Dad suddenly became very interested in helping me manage Mom's affairs. He kept asking about the insurance money, saying we should put it somewhere safe, where he could help me invest it. He'd always been terrible with money, so this was completely out of character. Then I started noticing changes in his behavior. He was going out more, spending money on things we couldn't afford. He bought a new car, a BMW that cost more than he made in 6 months. When I asked him about it, he said he deserved to live a little after everything we'd been through. He also started talking about taking a trip to Vegas with his college buddies, something about needing to process his grief. I was still dealing with my own grief and trying to get back to normal life, so I didn't push too hard. But then my Aunt Mira called me. She's my mom's sister and had always been close to our family. She told me that Dad had been bragging to relatives about having access to $60,000 and how he was planning to use it for a fresh start. That's when alarm bells started going off. I checked the account where the insurance money was deposited, and my heart stopped. The account was completely empty. Every single penny of Mom's life insurance money was gone. I confronted Dad that evening, and he tried to play it off like it was no big deal. He said he had borrowed the money for some investments that would pay off big. When I pressed him for details, he finally admitted the truth. He'd spent $15,000 on the BMW, another $8,000 on a luxury trip to Atlantic City with his friends, $12,000 on renovating his man cave in the basement, and the rest on various shopping sprees and expensive dinners out. He'd blown through $60,000 in less than 2 months. I was absolutely furious. This wasn't just money. This was my mother's final gift to me, her way of taking care of me even after she was gone. And Dad had stolen it to fund his midlife crisis. When I demanded he pay it back immediately, he laughed. He actually laughed and said I was being dramatic. He claimed that as her husband, he had more right to that money than I did, even though the policy clearly listed me as the beneficiary. He said I should be grateful he was teaching me about the real world, and that Mom had always babied me too much. That's when I knew I had to take legal action. I wasn't going to let him get away with stealing from Mom's memory and from my future. I spent the next week gathering documentation. I had copies of the life insurance policy showing me as the sole beneficiary, bank statements showing the deposits and withdrawals, and even some text messages where Dad had bragged about his spending. I also found receipts for the car, the casino trips, and the home renovation. I found a lawyer who specialized in estate disputes, Michael Chen, and he was horrified when I told him what happened. He said this was a clear case of theft and conversion, and that Dad could potentially face criminal charges in addition to civil liability. We sent Dad a demand letter first, giving him 30 days to return the full $60,000. His response was to hire his own lawyer and claim that as Mom's spouse, he was entitled to the money regardless of what the policy said. His lawyer tried to argue some complicated stuff about community property, but Michael shut that down pretty quickly since the policy was crystal clear. When Dad refused to return the money, we filed a lawsuit. The case was pretty straightforward. The insurance company confirmed I was the sole beneficiary. The bank records showed Dad had accessed the money without authorization, and we had evidence of what he'd spent it on. The discovery phase was eye-opening. We found out Dad had been hiding debt from Mom during her illness. He owed money on credit cards, had taken out a personal loan, and was behind on the mortgage. He'd apparently been planning to use Mom's life insurance money to dig himself out of his financial hole, plus fund his post-grief party lifestyle. What made it even worse was finding out that some of his friends knew exactly where the money came from. There were group chat messages where he bragged about using his inheritance to treat everyone to expensive dinners and show them a good time in Atlantic City. These people knew he was spending his dead wife's life insurance money and didn't say a word. The trial lasted 3 days. Dad's lawyer tried to paint me as a greedy son who was trying to steal from his grieving father, but the evidence was overwhelming. The judge was clearly disgusted by Dad's behavior. In her ruling, she said that Dad had committed a callous betrayal of trust and had dishonored his wife's memory and final wishes. The judge ordered Dad to pay back the full $60,000 plus interest, which brought the total to about $62,000. But she didn't stop there. She also awarded me punitive damages of $30,000, saying that Dad's conduct was so egregious that it warranted additional punishment. She also ordered him to pay my legal fees, which came to another $15,000. So in total, Dad ended up owing me over $107,000. Of course, he didn't have that kind of money. He'd already spent the $60,000, and his financial situation was a mess. The court ordered him to liquidate assets to pay the judgment. The BMW had to be sold immediately. He had to take out a home equity loan against the house to cover the rest. The man cave renovations he'd done with Mom's money? He had to tear most of it out and sell the equipment to raise cash. But the financial consequences weren't even the worst part. Word got out in our community about what had happened. Dad's friends, the ones who had enjoyed his generosity when he was spending Mom's money, wanted nothing to do with him once they found out he was being sued by his own son. His siblings were disgusted with him. Even his own mother, my grandmother, told him she was ashamed of what he'd done. The stress of the lawsuit and the public humiliation took its toll on Dad. He aged years in months. He had to move out of our family home because he couldn't afford the mortgage payments after taking out the equity loan. He's now living in a small apartment across town, working 2 jobs to make ends meet. Some people in our community think I was too harsh, that I should have worked something out with him privately instead of taking him to court. But I don't regret it for a second. This wasn't just about money. It was about honoring my mother's wishes and holding Dad accountable for his actions. The $60,000 that Mom left me is now safely invested in a diversified portfolio, just like she would have wanted. I'm using some of it as a down payment on a house, which feels like the right way to honor her memory. I've also set aside money for a scholarship fund in her name at the nursing school where she got her degree. As for my relationship with Dad, it's basically non-existent now. He's tried to reach out a few times, claiming he wants to repair our relationship, but he's never once apologized for what he did. He still seems to think he was entitled to that money and that I overreacted by taking legal action. Maybe someday we'll be able to have some kind of relationship again, but it won't be the same. He showed me who he really is when the chips were down, and that's not someone I can trust or respect. The whole experience has taught me that grief affects people differently, but it's no excuse for betraying the people you're supposed to love and protect. Mom always said that a person's true character comes out during the hardest times. Dad failed that test completely. I miss Mom every day, but I know she would be proud that I fought for what was right. She raised me to stand up for myself and not let people take advantage of me, even if they're family. In the end, that's exactly what I did. The money from the lawsuit has been helpful, but the real victory was making sure Dad faced consequences for his actions. He thought he could steal from his dead wife's son and get away with it. He was wrong. Looking back, I should have seen the signs earlier. Dad had always been irresponsible with money, and Mom had always been the one to keep him in line. Without her there to check his worst impulses, he went completely off the rails. But that still doesn't excuse what he did. I've learned to be more careful about who I trust, even within my own family. I've also learned that sometimes doing the right thing means making hard choices that other people won't understand. Not everyone in my life supported my decision to sue Dad, but I know it was the right thing to do. The house I bought with part of Mom's money has become my sanctuary. It's a place where I can remember her without the pain of Dad's betrayal hanging over everything. I've hung photos of Mom throughout the house, and I like to think she's still looking out for me. Dad's financial situation has stabilized somewhat over the past few months. He's still struggling, but he's managing to make his payments on the judgment. His lawyer worked out a payment plan with the court, so he's paying me back gradually over time. It's a constant reminder to him of what he did, which feels appropriate. I've also learned that Mom had apparently talked to several family members about her concerns regarding Dad and money. My Aunt Mira told me that Mom had specifically chosen to make me the beneficiary instead of Dad because she was worried about exactly what ended up happening. She knew Dad better than anyone and was trying to protect her money from his poor decisions even from beyond the grave. That knowledge makes me feel even more justified in taking legal action. I wasn't just standing up for myself, I was carrying out Mom's wishes and protecting her legacy. The scholarship fund I established in Mom's name has already helped 2 nursing students pay for their education. Every year, I plan to add more money to it so it can help even more students. It feels like the perfect way to honor someone who dedicated her career to helping others. Some of my extended family members have tried to pressure me to forgive Dad and move on, saying that life is short and family is important. But they don't understand that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or accepting unacceptable behavior. Dad betrayed my trust in the worst possible way at the worst possible time. That's not something you just get over. I'm not saying I'll never speak to him again, but any future relationship would have to be built from the ground up. He'd have to acknowledge what he did was wrong, make a genuine apology, and demonstrate real change over time. So far, he's done none of those things. The legal victory also sent a message to other family members that I'm not someone who can be taken advantage of. There were some relatives who seemed to think that because I was young and grieving, I'd be easy to manipulate. The lawsuit showed them that I'm capable of standing up for myself and my interests. Michael, my lawyer, told me that cases like mine are more common than people think. Adult children often have to take legal action against parents who misuse inheritance money or life insurance proceeds. It's a sad reality of family dynamics when large sums of money are involved. The experience has also made me more careful about my own financial planning. I've already set up a will and made sure all my beneficiary designations are clear and up to date. I never want to put any future children of mine in the position I was in. I've also become closer to Mom's side of the family through all this. My Aunt Mira has been incredibly supportive, and my cousins Arjun and Kavya have really stepped up to fill some of the family void that Dad's betrayal created. It's shown me that family isn't just about blood, it's about who shows up for you when things get tough. The community response has been mixed but mostly supportive. Most people understand that what Dad did was wrong, even if they think I went too far with the lawsuit. But there are some who think family disputes should stay private and that I was wrong to air our dirty laundry in court. I don't really care about those opinions. When someone steals $60,000 from you, privacy goes out the window. Dad made the choice to handle this publicly when he bragged about spending the money to his friends and relatives. I just made sure he faced public consequences for his public bad behavior. The house I bought is in a different neighborhood from where Dad lives now, which is intentional. I needed space to build a new life without constant reminders of his betrayal. The house has a small garden where I've planted some of Mom's favorite flowers. It's become my favorite place to sit and remember her. I've also started dating again, something I wasn't sure I'd be ready for so soon after losing Mom. But meeting Sarah has been a bright spot in an otherwise difficult year. She's a teacher who understands the importance of family but also recognizes that toxic family relationships sometimes need to be cut off. She's been supportive of my decision to maintain distance from Dad while still honoring Mom's memory. The financial stability that came from winning the lawsuit has allowed me to take some risks in my career too. I left my corporate job and started my own consulting business, something Mom always encouraged me to do. It's scary being self-employed, but having that safety net of Mom's money has made it possible. Dad occasionally tries to contact me through other family members, usually around holidays or Mom's birthday. He seems to think that enough time has passed that we should be able to move forward. But he still hasn't acknowledged that what he did was wrong, so there's really nothing to move forward from. I think part of him genuinely believes he was entitled to that money as Mom's husband. He doesn't seem to understand that being married to someone doesn't give you the right to override their explicit wishes about who should receive their life insurance benefits. It's a level of entitlement that I find disturbing. The payment plan he's on means I get a check from him every month for the next several years. It's a constant reminder of what happened, but it's also a form of justice. Every payment is an acknowledgement that he was wrong and that he owes me for what he did. I've thought about what I'll do when the judgment is fully paid off. Part of me wants to donate that money to charity since it feels tainted by the circumstances. But I think Mom would want me to use it to build a good life for myself. So I'm planning to use it as additional investment capital for my business or maybe as a college fund for future children. The whole experience has changed my perspective on family loyalty. I used to think that family always came first, no matter what. But I've learned that loyalty has to go both ways. Dad showed no loyalty to me or to Mom's memory when he stole that money. Why should I show loyalty to him? I've also learned that grief doesn't excuse bad behavior. Dad tried to use Mom's death as justification for his spending spree, claiming he was dealing with his emotions by treating himself and his friends. But plenty of people lose spouses without resorting to theft and betrayal. The legal proceedings were emotionally draining, but I'm glad I went through with them. It gave me a sense of closure and justice that I wouldn't have had if I'd just accepted Dad's theft. Sometimes you have to fight for what's right, even when it's painful and difficult. Looking forward, I'm focused on building a life that would make Mom proud. That means being financially responsible, maintaining strong relationships with people who deserve my trust, and using my resources to help others when I can. The scholarship fund is just the beginning of how I want to honor her legacy. I know Mom would be sad about the rift between Dad and me, but I also know she'd understand why it had to happen. She raised me to have principles and to stand up for what's right. That's exactly what I did, even when it meant taking on my own father in court. The money is important, but the real victory was proving that actions have consequences, even within families. Dad thought he could get away with stealing from me because we're related. He learned the hard way that being family doesn't give you a free pass to hurt people. I still think about Mom every day, but the pain of grief is no longer mixed up with anger about Dad's betrayal. Winning the lawsuit helped separate those emotions and allowed me to grieve properly for the first time since she passed. That alone was worth the legal battle. The future looks bright despite everything that happened. I have my own home, a growing business, a healthy relationship, and the knowledge that I stood up for myself when it mattered most. Mom's money is being used exactly as she intended, to help me build a good life. And Dad is learning that his actions have lasting consequences. That's really all I ever wanted from this whole mess.